Gang, are you a fan of cardamom in fragrances? Well, autumn is around the corner. I can actually start smelling the creeping in of autumn season. The air changes, there's a different kind of a smell. And you know, I feel like cardamom is the perfect note to wear in the autumn season or fall season, especially when the weather changes. You can start feeling a breeze in the air, that autumn breeze that I love, and you're walking by a coffee shop, you can smell that coffee in the air. I love the coffee and cardamom combo, and I've got a couple of different fragrances here that features coffee and cardamom together, but cardamom is such a great note. It's a fresh spice for me, not a warm spice. It's got that really great smell, really aromatic and spicy and pungent, and I've got 12 fragrances here today in this video featuring cardamom. It's not a ranked list, although I have my number one at the number one spot, but I'm highlighting 12 cardamom fragrances that are all unisex, and I've got a couple of bonuses at the end of the video after the outro that are male targeted. So find out about cardamom fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about cardamom and fragrances. Is this a note that you really love? Do you enjoy cardamom and fragrances? Do you actually enjoy the spice itself in cooking, cuisine? And have you ever had cardamom and coffee together? Really an amazing combination. I kind of grew up drinking that stuff. My family drank, you know, Middle Eastern coffee, and sometimes they would have it with cardamom. Cardamom does have a little bit of a soapiness, the spice itself. You can kind of experience it, and I mostly experience that soapiness when it's contrasted with the coffee. It's an interesting spice, but I absolutely love the smell of cardamom. And we're going to start off right now with a fragrance from the house of XERJOFF, Starlight. This is not coffee with cardamom, but this is gourmand with cardamom. And cardamom really does complement sweets. I do experience it in sweets in the Middle East, and I feel like this is kind of a Middle Eastern spice, kind of a nutty gourmand dessert experience. XERJOFF does really great gourmands, and I think this is one of their better ones. It's a really delicious combination, and it's cardamom with almonds, cinnamon, cloves, amber. There's a little bit of a caramelly experience here, and I get the kind of, you know, kind of like a baklava experience here, or some kind of a pastry, which is kind of gooey and spicy and, you know, vanillic and almondy, and of course cardamom-y. So this is Starlight from the house of XERJOFF, starting off the list. Moving on to one of those coffee and cardamom experience fragrances, we're going to the house of AKRO with Awake. This is, it smells like coffee. I love the smell of coffee. Walking by a coffee shop in the autumn season, it's one of my favorite things. The smell in the air is different. That breeze, the autumn breeze, and then the coffee shop, you know, brewing all this coffee. I love that. This to me is that, plus the addition of cardamom, or, you know, having like a Middle Eastern coffee with cardamom experience. It's loads of coffee with the green cardamom, Italian lemon, and Haitian vetiver. To me, I feel like the AKRO fragrances are somewhat simplistic, but they're really great fragrances. If you're looking for overly complex fragrances, I don't think this is a house for that, but some of their fragrances are amazing. Smoke is my favorite. I enjoy Ink now as well. Compliment getter for me. Awake is great. Dark is great. Really great solid releases. The only one I don't like from this house is the malt, but Awake is really delicious. If you like the idea of coffee and cardamom, definitely check out Awake from the house of AKRO. Moving on to probably one of the darlings in the community. This is probably the most popular fragrance in this house and probably in this collection. This is MEMO Paris African Leather. So the bottle has changed. If you can see this. Somebody recently told me also that it's not performing as good. I didn't really notice that, but I'll have to test a little more you know, intensely and a little more closely watched. But African Leather is a spice bomb pretty much, and if you don't know this leather series from MEMO Paris, every leather that they have starts out the experience of the name of the fragrance, like this is Africa, African leather, and then it dries down to a leather. So all the fragrances, like if it's Russian leather, it's got that frosty green pine experience, and if it's Italian leather, it's got that kind of green tomato leaf experience. Here we've got very spicy experience. So it's cardamom with leather, saffron, cumin. The cumin is really sexy in this one. Really, I think it's a solid release, one of the better from this house. It's African Leather from MEMO Paris. Moving on to the house of BDK. This is GRIS CHARNEL XERJOFF. I like the XERJOFF concentration a lot more than the original, although the original is really great too, but I feel like the cardamom is a little more amped up here in the X-ray version. You experience it fully, like it's really in your face, the cardamom, and I like that about cardamom. If you don't know what cardamom smells like and you want to experience cardamom and fragrances, go buy a bottle or a jar of cardamom, open it up and start smelling it, because that's the best way you'll start noticing cardamom, because it's a great smell even if you open it up out of the jar. I think it's very fragrant, so powerfully fragrant. And here with BDK Gris Charnel X-ray, it's lots of cardamom along with the black tea, sandalwood, fig, iris, vanilla, so it's intensified the experience. And I feel like even though it's pretty much the same fragrance, here you're experiencing something a little different, and it's not like that ethereal version that the original is. A lot more dense, things are a lot more pungent, the cardamom is more in your face, the black tea is a lot thicker, sandalwood is a lot creamier, the fig is, you know, this fruitiness, and of course you've got the powdery iris in here and the vanilla. It's quite delicious. BDK Gris Charnel X-ray, check that out if you don't know it. So I have cardamom and coffee. The experience is great, and I've got one more fragrance that features this combination coming up, but right now we're going to cardamom and tea along with milk. This is JOVOY's Remember Me, and you know, created by Cecile Zorokian. I think it's one of the better fragrances from this house. I really love it for this kind of milky lactonic experience with in-your-face cardamom. Really lots of cardamom in this one, and I think tea, cardamom, chai totally makes sense, right? You've had it before, I've had it. I love the flavor. It's really great, and that kind of milkiness is here. You've got a little bit of a thickness with the milk in here, so it's more creamy than like a thin milk, if that makes sense, because I like my milk to be a little heavier. I don't ever use 2% when I have a cappuccino. It's always like regular milk. Sometimes I go for a breve, which is half and half, but here it's tea, milk, cardamom, vanilla, ginger, frangipani, and woodsy notes. The ginger is kind of stand out here. It's nice contrast. There's vanillic touches, of course. The cardamom is really intense. The tea is like chai latte, basically. It's like a chai tea experience, and of course you've got that floral touch from the frangipani, which adds, you know, frangipani has a little milkiness. It's a floral experience, so it really does accentuate the fragrance, or makes it and takes it into a floral direction, which is really nice. Remember Me from the House of JOVOY, really delicious fragrance. If you don't know that one, do check it out. I really love that one. And this is also definitely one for a highlight. This is Histoire de Parfums Edition Rare VENI. I'm wearing it right now, and I really love this one. The cardamom in this is really stand out. It's in your face. But this is also sort of similar to this one, Starlight, but different. For me, this is more cardamom than Starlight, even though Starlight seems like it's blended and smoothed out more. This one, the cardamom is stand out like when you just open that jar of cardamom I was mentioning earlier. But this is also contrasted with caramel, lots of it. So this sweet, sticky, syrupy, molassesy experience, and you also have ambergris and cinnamon here. It's a delicious, spicy gourmand. Check that out. It's Histoire de Parfums Edition Rare VENI. It's an underrated one. Nobody talks about it, but I think it totally deserves the attention, especially if you like cardamom. Alright, moving on to number 6. Remember, this is not a ranked list. Only one that I'm ranking is the first fragrance at number 1. At the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about, it's the number 1 cardamom experience. But I also mentioned that I don't have any male targeted releases here in this list. It's all unisex, except for this one. I went with this one. This is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme, the new Parfum version, because Tom Ford did have a Noir Extreme Pour Femme, and the Pour Femme and the Pour Homme were very similar to me. Here, we've got even more amplified cardamom experience, along with tonka beans, amber, sandalwood, guaiac wood, ginger. If you love the original, I think you will enjoy this one. It's just a more denser, more concentrated experience. It's not as fresh as the Eau de Parfum, even though the Eau de Parfum is not a fresh fragrance, but still, the freshness is completely removed here, and it smells super fantastic. The cardamom and the ginger in here, it's out of this world delicious. It's a great combination. Ginger, cardamom, once again, we're talking about the chai latte kind of an experience. To me, those are really great spices, and they're really great fresh spices and perfectly highlighted here in Noir Extreme Parfum from Tom Ford. And as I said, this is a male targeted release, but Tom Ford had the Noir Pour Femme. Very similar fragrance to Noir Noir Extreme, and of course that's discontinued, and now Noir Extreme has its own flanker. It's Noir Extreme Parfum. Moving on to the house of ROJA Parfums. This is Sweetie Oud. Sweetie Oud is a unique gourmand experience. They don't use any gourmand notes in this fragrance, but you have this kind of a patisserie, baked bakery bread, pastries, kind of a gourmand experience with this one. But there's loads of cardamom in here. Lots of cardamom. It's very, very spicy, along with oud, the Gurjan, balsam, rose, and a lot of other different notes. There's ambery notes and there's spices along with it. But if you like the idea of baked breads, pastries, croissants, and things like that, you gotta try Sweetie Oud. I highly recommend you try it. It's a very, very unique gourmand experience, and again, they're not using too many at all gourmand notes, but it's a gourmand delight, like a bakery experience. So ROJA Parfums Sweetie Oud is a great scent for you to check out. Alright, moving on to number 5. Again, not a ranked list. We're talking about the second and last cardamom coffee experience, and this is Lush Guerrilla Perfumes Cardamom Coffee. The name says it all, basically. And this is actually delicious. This actually, if you go to their website, I initially thought that they had discontinued it, but they have brought it back. It seems to be back. The cover of this bottle is different now as well, and definitely highly recommend this one. It's actually inspired by Lebanese coffee, and I'm Lebanese and I know this particular coffee, so it's definitely that actual combination of cardamom with coffee. But in this fragrance they also have oud, olive, and rose, but it smells like it's a kind of a creamy consistency, and I think it's a little oily as well. I think this olive note kind of creates this oiliness in here. At least that's what I'm thinking it's coming from, but there's definitely like a thickness about it, and the cardamom coffee experience is out of this world delicious. Really wonderful fragrance experience. This is Lush Cardamom Coffee. If you don't know that one, do check it out. And I think I reported it was discontinued at one point, but now I do see it on their website. I just don't know if the concentration or the formula has changed. Not the concentration, I should say the formula. So I would like to go check out if it's different or if it's similar. Sadly, we don't have a Lush store here in San Francisco anymore, so I don't know where I'll be checking it out. The next fragrance, going to the house of Jo Malone. This is Vetiver in Golden Vanilla. Even though it doesn't say anything about cardamom, to me this is loads of cardamom along with the vetiver and the vanilla. So if you like the idea of this kind of very fresh, pungent spiciness contrasted with vetiver and vanilla together, this is really, really great. If you don't like vanilla as a man, this is also a great fragrance to try, because it is very vetiver-y, it's very earthy, woody, but you've got that contrast of the vanilla. It sweetens down the vetiver a little bit, or if you're going the other way, you're toning down the the vanilla qualities of the vanilla with the vetiver, but then you also have that great, really great smelling cardamom. In fact, I get an equal balance of vetiver, vanilla, and cardamom in this fragrance, and there's that smokiness in here as well from that. I think it's the vetiver that's creating smokiness. Really delicious fragrance, Jo Malone Vetiver and Golden Vanilla at number 3. Next, going to the house of Nila Vermeer Creations. This is Treillis, this one right here, and this one to me, a fragrance created by Bertrand Duchaffoul. It's a delicious cardamom fragrance experience, and this one also has cardamom and ginger, and as I was saying earlier, cardamom, ginger together, they work wonderfully together. There's that zing with ginger that cardamom doesn't have. Cardamom has this like very pungent, really aromatic, fresh, lightly soapy kind of experience, and the two work really wonderfully together. This does have lots of sandalwood, so it's the sandalwood in the dry down, and of course there's a little bit of the smokiness running throughout it with incense thrown in as well. A great scent. It's Treillis from the house of Nila Vermeer Creations. And my number one, this is the ranked one. The number one cardamom fragrance, I think, is Hermes Voyage de Hermes Parfum Concentration. This to me is the cardamom bomb. Like, this is the actual cardamom fragrance. To me, this smells like an open jar of cardamom pods. The smell is captured beautifully here. It's fresh, it's spicy, it's a little citrusy, and a little woody as well, and perfect. It's a perfect fragrance creation that really pays tribute to that beautiful spice of cardamom. So it doesn't feature anything else except for the citruses, the cardamom, the spices, and woods, and it's basically how it wears. It's a little simplistic, it's definitely Hermes-like, but deserves the number one spot because it's just really paying tribute to that spice, amazing spice of cardamom. So Hermes Voyage de Hermes Parfum Concentration. You know, I've never, to this day, I've never worn the original in the clear bottle. I've always worn that one because I felt like this is the perfect version version of it. I feel like the clear bottle version is a little different and not really paying tribute to the cardamom, so it's not like a full cardamom experience to me. But if you guys have experience with the clear bottle one, do let me know. But other than that, that's the list for you guys today. These are my top 12 cardamom fragrances. I know there's some stuff I left off from a few you know, past lists. I feel like these are really solid fragrances for you to be you know, checking out if you're interested in you know, discovering cardamom fragrances. But do let me know if you've tried these fragrances. Do let me know if there's another cardamom fragrance I should look into. Always looking, because I love the spice, and as I said earlier, it's perfect spice for autumn, because that freshness and the spiciness wears perfectly in that autumn breeze that kind of develops after the warmth dies down. But do let me know if there's any other cardamom fragrances. I'd like to find out. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, as I mentioned, I've got two bonuses here, and both of these are male targeted. If you're a woman and you like these fragrances, definitely wear them. This first one is Cartier's Declaration Parfum, this one right here. This is a cardamom balm, but it's a lot more than that. There's bitter orange here, there's cumin, there's birchwood, there's cedarwood in here as well, but the Parfum version is really a sexy take on the original, really great, but it is very cardamom forward, contrasted with that bitter orange, and I think the bitter orange and the cardamom works beautifully together, and the cumin really gives that kind of lightly sweaty spiciness that makes the fragrance very sexy. It's male targeted, but you know, I have to be honest, there are unisex fragrances that are out there that are sort of similar to this. So if you're a woman and you like masculine fragrances, I know a lot of women that wear masculine fragrances. They don't like flowers and things like that. I think you're gonna love this if you like the idea of cardamom in a fragrance from a masculine offering. So Cartier Declaration Parfum, and I cannot forget this one. This one, probably one of the better designer fragrances. Sadly, it's reformulated to death, but I think as a smell, it still smells great. It's YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme. It's cardamom, lots of it. Lots of cardamom here with lavender, cedar, bergamot. It's kind of fresh and woody, aromatic, and very spicy. And the cardamom smells very authentic in here, and I like that about it. Sad it's been reformulated to death. I haven't tried any current flankers of this one. Do test before buying, but I know out there's a lot of fans of this particular fragrance, so most people wear it, and I think it's, like I said, it's a solid release from YSL. It's La Nuit de l'Homme from Yves Saint Laurent. I do have to say, the original L'Homme from YSL sucks. The reformulation is so bad, I don't even talk about that one anymore. But this one, even though it's reformulated so much, it's gotten so light, it still smells pretty darn good. Anyway, that's my thoughts today on cardamom fragrances. Come back tomorrow for another video. Bye-bye.